This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here with your latest Meteo Mundo forecast. I hope you're having a great Friday. In this forecast video, I've got all the newest information on our developing tropical disturbance in the Southwest Caribbean. We'll take a look at where the rain's going to be falling for the remainder of our Friday afternoon. And then I've got the weekend forecast across the entire Caribbean and the Bahamas. We'll take a look again at some of the areas that's going to have some beautiful weather and some other areas that I expect to have some good chances for some rainfall. So as we get into this video, again, I hope you're having a great Friday. You want to help me get my weekend started off right, just click that like button. I'd really appreciate it. We've had some of our previous videos over 1,000 likes. I would love for this forecast video to get over 1,000 likes. That would be a great way to start the weekend off as well. And of course, you want to do you and me a favor. Subscribe to the channel. You want the latest forecast here from Meteo Mundo. So I'm going to get into the disturbance here coming up, but I do want to start off with what's happening right now on this Friday afternoon. Take a look at the enhanced satellite imagery. We continue to see some showers develop through portions of the Lesser Antilles on this Friday afternoon, especially down in the Windward Islands from St. Vincent to the south. Now, some of you in St. Lucia dropped some comments in the last video and said, we have had a lot of rain. It's been raining buckets. And I got to tell you something. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, because I do a lot of background work into some of the areas that have been getting some rain, and I kind of make a rundown, if you will. But to get those reports from you, those ground truth reports, keep them coming. I appreciate that. So St. Lucia's had a lot of rain. I do expect the additional showers to develop through portions of St. Lucia, and then especially from Barbados, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines south, especially down towards Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago. Generally speaking, there'll be more and more moisture the farther south that you go. So for the remainder of our Friday in these areas, we're going to get some downpours to develop. Might be fairly isolated in nature, but overall, the chances will be ramping up during the heat of the day through the remainder of our Friday afternoon. Now, you go a little bit further north towards Martinique and Dominica and Guadeloupe and Antigua Barbuda, a few stray showers are possible. When we get as far north and west as St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, and then especially towards the especially towards the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, that's where we're going to see the better chance for more widespread rain. Again, underneath this cloud coverage, we're going to get some downpours. It's not going to be, an all-day rain event, that's for sure. But for places like Roadtown and St. Thomas and St. Croix, we're going to get some showers there. Same thing, especially for the eastern sides of Puerto Rico, San Juan, Fajardo, on over towards the coastal islands, Culebra and Esperanza, then back towards the Dominican Republic as well, especially the eastern side of Hispaniola. A few showers for Haiti, but the Dominican Republic, we could get some heavier downpours there today and for tomorrow. And I'm going to show you the weekend forecast coming up. Then as we get into Jamaica, a couple of isolated showers there. That yellow area, of course, is just kind of the far end of the development area from the Hurricane Center. So I'll take this off. But again, isolated rain for Jamaica the remainder of today. Same thing for the Cayman Islands. A few showers might try and sneak towards Cancun and Cozumel, but generally speaking, we're relatively dry. That's good news for Central America. We'll talk about again how much rain we could get out of this disturbance coming up here in just a second. For the ABC Islands, a couple of showers in the forecast there. For Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, I don't expect a lot of rain over the weekend. And it's the same situation for the Bahamas. Many dry hours and locations up in the Bahamas as well. All right, so future track over the weekend. Let's get into it here. Throw the model into motion. And again, you can see your time frame. I'll start back again in the southern side of the Windward Islands. Some of the areas that I could expect to get some heavier rain today and tomorrow. Maybe slightly drier on Sunday, but still a good chance for showers. So Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, all with high likelihood of rain. Some of that could certainly be heavier in nature as well. We'll step back the model here and kind of look at this from this afternoon onwards. So again, more rain continuing, especially developing again in the afternoon hours of your Saturday, and we'll swing it back into motion for Sunday as well. So good opportunity for some showers there to help cool things off. For Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you guys are in that same forecast where we'll get more tropical downpours. The moisture is eventually going to slide off towards the west, but still pretty good shower activity for the weekend ahead, so keep that in mind. St. Lucia would be included in this as well. Maybe not as concentrated of downpours as what you had yesterday, but still for Friday afternoon, the remainder of the weekend, you guys are under the bullseye for some additional heavier showers. As I mentioned earlier, you get as far north as Martinique. It's going to begin to dry out a bit. Same thing for Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Martin. Again, a little bit better chance for a few showers there. But then it's really over towards the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, where we have better rain chances. And again, a really higher chance today and through portions of Saturday. Will begin to dry out in this area for Sunday as well, but decent showers could lead to some heavier downpours for Hispaniola. Now, we could get enough rain in some of the higher terrain, and Hispaniola is a very mountainous island where we could have some isolated flash flooding. I have some of the showers that I expect, show you some of the rainfall totals there, but we could have several inches of rain, especially on the eastern side of the island here for the weekend. It's going to be spotty rain for Jamaica over the weekend. We'll get some downpours, but again, many dry hours and locations outside of a few showers in the afternoon. That being said, things will completely change next week with the approach of that tropical disturbance. And again, we're going to get into that here in just a second. So let us look at total precipitation. And I am just going to take a single frame here. We'll back it up to our Sunday afternoon. And there you go. So this is looking at how much rain is going to fall between now and Sunday, 7 p.m. All right, so again, what are some of the maximum areas? We get back down towards the Windward Islands, and as I mentioned, Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, solid opportunity for several inches of rain. Don't take one number, but just know again that in this area, the model is painting on some fairly impressive rainfall totals. You got 2, 3, 4 inches of rain possible in these areas, Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada. And again, most of that coming into the afternoon hours. Going back up to the north, generally speaking, the farther north that you go in the island chain, a little bit lower chance for some of that more impressive rainfall totals, but still St. Vincent, 2.5 inches of rain, Barbados, 1 inch of rain, St. Lucia, again, you guys have had a lot, so you may not want more, but the model's painting on about 1/2 inch of rain there. We'll clear off those numbers and getting into the northern sides of the islands. Again, not as much rain there, but a few downpours, little bullseye on the eastern side of Puerto Rico there, a couple of inches of rain. Then you get back towards Hispaniola. And again, that's where we could have some decent rainfall totals. Again, just over the weekend, we could have 2, 3, close to 4 inches of rain in a couple of spots. Back towards Santo Domingo, it's a little bit lower, but again, higher terrain elevation could drop in a couple of showers that drop into the lower areas. And we could get some quick flash flooding because that's kind of fairly common in that area because of that higher terrain. So we'll be monitoring that situation. Elsewhere across the basin, it's going to mainly be offshore, just off of the eastern coastline of Central America, maybe right on the leading edge, on the edge, if you will, of Honduras and Nicaragua. There could be some heavier rain, but the majority of that rain, as that disturbance begins to develop, will of course remain offshore. Don't expect a lot of showers for the ABC Islands, and it's the same situation for the Bahamas. Again, getting up to the Bahamas here, a few showers up towards Walker's Key and Grand Bahama itself, but not a lot of rain. A little bit higher chance just offshore there, but Walker's Key, 1/4 inch of rain possible. About the same thing for places, whoops, zoomed in a little bit too far. Same places like Freeport and West End. A little bit of rain is possible there. So let's look at the rain chance overall. Again, highest in places like Trinidad and Tobago, 60% chance Saturday, 80% chance on Sunday. Puerto Rico, about a 40% chance for showers each day. The Dominican Republic, you're looking at about a 50% chance Saturday, then a 30% chance on Sunday, and then relatively low chances for rain for Jamaica, for the Bahamas, Northwest Bahamas, including Freeport and Nassau, and then Cancun. Again, just a 20% chance for a spotty shower. All right, let's get into our disturbance. So again, what you're seeing developing right now on this Friday afternoon is not the actual disturbance. We're starting to see some moisture getting going, but it's really not going to be until early to midweek that we start to really gather some steam in this area. But again, the Hurricane Center is highlighting this. They've now upped that chance to 30%. And honestly, I think that that number is just going to go higher and higher as we get into next week, because all signs point to the development of that system in the southwest side of the Caribbean. So let's take a look at the GFS model here. I'm going to have to take 1 second and swing it back out to the longer time frame here to make sure I cover the entire area. But the GFS model continues to be very consistent in its track and its intensity and in its time frame. So we'll take a look at the GFS model. It's going to start to really gather up some moisture early next week. Then as we get towards midweek and into late week, we start to see the system wrap up and move off to the north and to the east. Now, look, we are so early in this time frame. I never lean on one model completely, okay? So again, we're going to take this and understand that this is one solution. I'm going to show you the European model coming up as well. But one thing with the GFS model is it has been very consistent in the last several days in spinning up a storm early in the week, making it stronger than the European model, and then pulling it back to the north and to the east. But, you know, when the Hurricane Center looks at this early information, and even when they put out their first discussion on a tropical depression, they never lean into one model, and neither do I. They always talk about the blend of models, the blended model track, the blended model, intensity forecast, and that's what I do as well. And then as we go through time and maybe one model is outperforming the other, we begin to lean on that model a little bit more through time. But certainly the GFS model is pretty aggressive here. So the first thing I want to notice is the time frame that it starts to wrap up. So of course today is the 10th. As we get into our Tuesday, the 14th, and then Wednesday, that's when we really start to see that spin up. Now ahead of it, to the north and east of this, we could see some very heavy rainfall. That's going to be another big story out of whatever this becomes, is that it could throw a lot of rain to places like the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, portions of Hispaniola, eastern Cuba, the southeast side of the Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos. All could see some very significant rain if the GFS model track holds up. Not even talking about intensity here, just talking about the rainfall that could come with this. But obviously it spins up a pretty significant system by next Thursday into Friday, and then pulls it north and east through the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and basically scraping the northern side of Hispaniola, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. So that is what it looks like on the rainfall profile as far as the reflectivity. We'll switch over to the wind profile. And again, it's still a pretty wrapped up system. Now, the European model has a 100% chance of a tropical depression. I'll show you that. Has a decent chance for a tropical storm. It certainly isn't as strong as the GFS model is right now. And again, we don't have an invest yet. So we don't have those spaghetti plots, those tropical suites of models running. So we're looking at the two major global models here for right now. Hopefully we'll get that invest system soon and we'll start getting more of those tropical models running. But again, you can see it's a pretty intense system moving through Jamaica and then eventually north and east. So again, I don't want to focus on one area. I don't want to focus on one solution, but one thing that I do that the Hurricane Center doesn't do is we go beyond 7 days, and you can see that beyond this 7-day track, it's going to potentially impact a lot of land areas if it were to hold true. So again, that is for informational purposes. I'm going to show you the European model coming up here in just a second, but I do want to take a look at the winds from the GFS model and why this would be headed off to the north and to the east. So I'm looking at one static time frame here because if you remember in the last video, my computer did not like me trying to loop this. I'm going to jump back just a little bit farther in time. Let's even go back one more day. How does that sound? Let's go back to the 17th. Okay, so the reason why, as we kind of go through this and it begins to move north and east, is because we're going to have a pretty strong mid-latitude cyclone dropping into the southern United States. So let me show you that here. I'm going to bring on our telestrate feature. So what's going to end up happening is as this moves through, okay, let me make sure I actually turn on the telestrate feature here. Okay, so now that's on. We're going to pick up very strong southwest winds in the Gulf of Mexico, all right? And I'll step through time. We might even get a non-tropical area of low pressure to develop with its counterclockwise winds. Basically, everything says that as this mid-latitude cyclone moves east across the United States and then drops down, that we're going to get very strong southwest winds ahead of it, okay? So we'll go out a little bit farther in time, and you can see those winds begin to come down. This is going to push this system north and east. We should have strong southwest winds all the way through the Gulf of Mexico and pull it in. Now, one of the GFS solutions over the last couple days has been to stall this out and then try and move it back west, but the majority of the solutions that I've seen have continued to push it somewhere in this vicinity. So let me clear these off here. But you get the idea. I wanted to show you that because there's certainly a reason why the GFS model is throwing this system very quickly off towards the east. So if I go out even a little bit farther in time, you can see what I'm talking about. This mid-latitude cyclone drags some pretty significant winds along with it pretty deep into the Gulf of Mexico. It would be very hard for this system to try and sneak its way back north and west. It almost has to, if the timing is right on the GFS model, get pulled back off towards the east. So, and I promise you I'll get better at this illustration as well. I wanted to show you that because, again, there's kind of reasoning why the GFS model is picking up on that. All right, I got to clear this thing off. I love this thing. It's fantastic. All right, let me clear it. And then I have to do one more thing. I actually go back here and say, I'm done. Okay, now I'm done. But that's the reason why the GFS model is going the way that it's going. All right, let's take a look at the total precipitation here. This is going to be another huge story. So this is out 9 days. I want you to notice how much rain that the GFS model is showing with this disturbance. And it could be quite significant here. So let's zoom in on these areas. And again, this would be total precipitation here, but the majority of this obviously coming mid to late next week. The GFS model is showing a tremendous amount of rain for portions of Cuba and then back towards Jamaica. For my friends in Jamaica, again, you're not going to get a lot of rain over the weekend, but as we go through next week and as this disturbance begins to develop, we expect to see some heavy tropical downpours, especially if the GFS model track is true and it takes it very close to the island. But that could be some extremely significant rain to keep a very, very close eye on. Over a foot of rain on the GFS model through portions of Jamaica, very heavy rainfall totals for portions of the western sides of Hispaniola. You get back down towards, let me clear off some of these. You get back towards the west here. Let's see if I can clear these off. There we go. You get back towards the west. Not as much rain for the Cayman Islands, not as much rain for the eastern sides of Central America, which would be great. But my goodness, this is, again, if you look at our chart here, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of rain. You get into the yellows and the grays and the greens. You know, now we're talking about very excessive rain, which could push into the southern Bahamas and the Turks into the Caicos. Let me just drop a couple more points here real quickly and just get an idea for some of these rainfall totals that we're looking at. But again, southern sides of and eastern sides of Cuba, and then towards Jamaica, and just really along that path. This is in the open water, but you can just see this swath of rain that could be moving in. So the rainfall could be another big variable with the system. All right, let's look at the European model. So the European model Wednesday night has a tropical depression developing in the southwest Caribbean. It's a little bit slower in time than the GFS model, but it's getting around, and now it's beginning to crank out just a little bit slightly stronger storm. Notice that there are some lows in the Gulf of Mexico. That's that non-tropical potential low kind of slipping into the northern Gulf. But again, counterclockwise winds should aid in the west to east push of this system, especially because this would actually be weaker and just developing, and that mid-latitude cyclone could have some strong winds all the way to the upper levels of the atmosphere. So this is the European model chance of a tropical depression, that should say TD, tropical depression. I want you to notice that we're basically at 100%. So the European model says we're going to have ourselves a tropical depression in the southwest Caribbean as we get into midweek. Now, the chance for a tropical storm is not as high, but it's slightly higher than the last time I showed you this. And again, it's in that same corridor that the GFS model is showing. So while the European model is not as intense as the GFS model, you've got development in the same area and you've got a track in the same location. So now we're kind of pinging towards that 40% chance, maybe even up to a 50% chance of a tropical storm on the European model close to Jamaica, eastern Cuba, the western sides of Hispaniola, Turks and Caicos, and the southeast side of the Bahamas. So we're getting more in agreement here with the potential track. It will be a little bit slower on the European model, both in development and in speed compared to the GFS. But again, something to keep an eye on. Something else to keep an eye on, friends, is how to follow us. Let me get off screen. Again, it's not just YouTube. We're everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and our email address. You want to send us some photos or some videos. You want to kind of get some snippets of the forecast. Jump on over to Instagram and TikTok and our Facebook page. We're always updating there. And again, you can kind of get the latest when you're on the go, don't have a chance to watch some of our YouTube videos. The other thing that we're doing, by the way, is we're also live streaming as well. So if you go to the live tab of Meteo Mundo, you're going to see our system running in real time, giving you updates. Those numbers that you saw pop on, those are the real time temperatures, updated real-time satellite and radar information and tropical information as well. Whenever the National Hurricane Center puts out something new, our system will immediately pick up on that and give you those details. So in between these forecast videos, jump over to the live tab and kind of check in with what's happening in your area. Of course, I will keep you updated through the weekend. I'll be doing videos throughout the weekend. So liking this video helps us out. I appreciate that. Subscribing to the channel helps both of us out if you want the newest information. And again, we'll keep you updated on what's happening with that disturbance and the chance for rain across the Caribbean and the Bahamas all weekend long right here at Meteo Mundo. Have a great weekend, friends, and I will see you back shortly.